Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we're talking about the Wheel of Fortune. That's the 10th card in your tarot deck in the High Arcana. I'm doing a series on the different tarot cards where we look at cards from my collection of decks. We talk about the art, we talk about the symbology. I also have deeper lessons over on my podcast, The Witching Half Hour or So. If you like this content and you want to join our earbud coven, go subscribe to the podcast. I drop a episode every full moon and new moon. So every moon cycle, I drop an episode. Some of them are about tarot, some of them are about other great witchy things. Now, today, let's get into these cards. The Wheel of Fortune is the 10th card in the High Arcana. It often talks about fate and our destiny and our life path. Artistically, there's like two main ways that this is depicted. One of them is by dividing the wheel into 4 quadrants. There's a lot of esoteric history about that, and I will come back to it. The other way is looking at the triple goddess, so the maid, mother, and crone aspect, or also we see them as the Norns or the 3 fates. And you'll have art around that. And my actual favorite card of the Wheel of Fortune is one with the Norns. Okay, let's talk about the cards that divide it up. So the first one we're going to look at is this one right here. This is from the Book of Shadows Tarot. This is from the As Above deck. This is a double deck that one of these days I'm going to get around to doing a full YouTube episode on this deck. It's pretty cool. Anyway, I wanted to start with this card because you can see it's not just divided into 4, it's divided into the 8 Sabbats that most neo-pagans celebrate. That would be winter solstice or Yule, spring equinox or Astra, the summer solstice, and Samhain or Halloween. Now, we also have the minor celebrations in there, which is Imbolc, Beltane, Lammas, and the autumn equinox or Mabon. And you see a symbol for them throughout this wheel on this card. So the meaning here really is reflected in the idea of cycles and seasons of our life, right? All of life is reflected in the wheel and the cycles. The whole cycle of birth, growth, decay, death, and rebirth. And this cycle has a purpose in our life, and we cannot stop these cycles from happening. The next one I show you also divides it into 4. This is from Cheryl Manchetti's Legacy of the Divine Tarot. Okay, we see again that the Wheel of Destiny is divided into 4. Now, instead of using the Sabbats to show the cycles, what we have here is the balance of the 4 elements, very similar to a circle cast, right? You have the pentacles, the wands, the swords, and the cups. The 4 different suits of the tarot are represented in this card in the state of balance. So you have the 4 elements around the circle, right? Lots of esoteric meaning in all of this layered through. So you have the idea of being in the center of the circle, being within your power and being within your purpose. And you can see the illustration here of our Fool as that Fool moves through the different stages of life, the different stages of growth, and the different places on their life path. So I think that this card really shows that idea of being in your life's purpose, being in your life's path, where things are balanced and you're moving through, sometimes with grace and sometimes not, right? This one's interesting. This is from the Antique Anatomy Tarot. I'm really falling in love with this deck, you guys. And again, we have the 4 elements as they're represented in this deck through the different suits, right? You have the knives, you have the coins, you have the potions, that's their cups or water, and then you have the rods, which are all those little surgical pullers. It's very, very cool. What I do like how the hands are either facing or holding the element. There really seems to be an idea in this artwork around having control of your fate and your destiny, about things being in your own hands and being able to move through the different phases depending on how you are wielding your own personal power. So when we're talking about the meaning of the Wheel of Fortune, for me, it's always been about destiny. Whether or not your client is going to be pushing against destiny or is aligned with it, it really depends on the question that's asked, how you're going to read this card and which aspects come out in it. And as well, because it's one of the more theoretical ideas in the high arcana, this idea of fate and the way we personally relate to our fate and our life path, it's going to depend on the other cards around it. Often this card talks about how you are moving in line with your fate and destiny, how you're dealing with the lessons in your life and the way they're being presented to you. Now, the way I like to look at this card and the way that just resonates more with me is when we look at it, not so much in the idea of the balance of the seasons and the wheel, but when we look at it with the idea of the fates. If you study witchcraft, you also know that there's a lot of esoteric meaning behind the balance of the four elements, of the four quarters, and the circle that that wheel is representing. So all those layers are there, and you can see that really in this next card. So this is the Wheel of Fortune card from the Garden of the Secret Fairies Tarot. So here we don't have the four quadrants anymore. We have the cycles of life through the pupa, the cocoon, and then that fairy there. So we still have the idea of faith, the cycles of life and rebirth and transformation in this card. I like how it's really grounded in nature. So you have the flower as the wheel instead of the drawing of a wheel. I really like that about this card. This whole deck is really very grounded in nature. It's very cool. Okay. So here is my favorite Wheel of Fortune card. This is a deck I've had for many years. It's the Mythic Tarot. And you have the wheel and you have the people going through their cycles, but you have the norns spinning. And I really like the way that this illustration marries the idea of our life cycles and how the fates weave our lives. So to me, it really embodies the idea of going with the flow of nature and what can happen when your ideas and what you're striving for doesn't align with your purpose or align with what is in store for your life. You've got the norns weaving away. You've got the scissors ready to cut a life at its end. I love everything to do with the history of the norns and the fates and the lore around them. So, of course, this is my favorite. And when I first learned to read tarot, I found that this was one of the decks that really solidified for me what this card really meant, right? That it's about your fortune, it's about cycles of life, but it's really about that life path. So when this card comes up in a spread where someone is talking about what decision they want to make or where they want to go, it's such a good omen because it validates that they are on their life path, that they're working towards something and that there's good things coming to them. It's just a great card. The last card I'm going to show you in our little journey through my tarot collection is again from the As Above, So Below deck. Now this is really cool because I find it combines the two ideas of both the fates and cycles and an esoteric circle. So you have the seasons in the background, the trees showing the different seasons of life and the cycles that we are subject to. No matter what we do, we will go through the seasons of life. And then you have the maiden, mother, and crone, as well as a child figure there. So I think that's really cool because you have the the symbology of the fates that weave things, of the goddess working with you through your life, and then also just life itself and the cycles that we're in because we're on this earth, right? So really like the way this one was depicted. And this is from the so below half of that deck. Okay, well, there you go. How many cards did I give you this time? 5? 6. I gave you 6 cards today. I hope that helps you. I hope you enjoyed this. Please click the subscribe button and I'll see you real soon.